Appearance on Dion's Daily Dose does not imply endorsement from or by any candidate or guest. The views, thoughts, and opinions expressed by Dion Bergeron or Dion's Daily Dose are his own and do not represent the views, thoughts, and opinions of any guest. Material and information presented is for general information purposes only. The Dion's Daily Dose name in all forms and abbreviations are the property of its owners, and its use does not imply endorsement of or opposition to any specific organization, product, or service. If you'd like to support the show, please visit our Patreon at patreon.com/Dion's Daily Dose.
Okay, we are live. All right. I have with me today Mike Cargile from California, of all places.
Yeah.
Out there, out west, California. I'm in the process of putting his information in here. So, Mike, you just want to start off and tell my viewers what you got going on?
Sure. Hi, I'm Mike Cargile, and it's Cargile. And if you have trouble remembering that, just think smile. It's Cargile. That always gets a bit of a laugh.
I like that.
So yeah, I'm here in California in the 35th, which is primarily the big cities are Pomona, Ontario, Chino, Fontana, a little Bloomington, Rialto. So those are my major cities. In fact, I have the greatest district in California. Some people think theirs is. I know mine is.
It's a beautiful area. I've actually been through there a number of times, and
Sure.
it's gorgeous. There's no doubt. It is beautiful area. So I understand why people are like, why don't you just move? Why don't you just move? I wouldn't want to give that up either.
No. And listen, when I say it's the best, on one end of my district, I have NHRA. I have the Pomona Fairplex, probably one of the best drag strips in the world. On the other end of my district, I have the Auto Club Speedway. I have NASCAR. Right
Oh, wow.
in between them, I have an international airport, all within my district. It's
Nice.
best.
Yeah, you can't beat that at all. That's nice.
Yeah, it's nice.
So how are you handling the social distancing and the mandatory lockdowns? I don't know how bad it is out there. Have they, like here, we recently got instituted with a lockdown, a curfew order and all of that there for a while. Indiana was kind of behind the rest on that. What kind of measures are they taking out where you're at?
Well, it's pretty much the same. I mean, when you leave the house, you have to have a face mask on. They're saying even when you're driving. And,
Wow.
if you get pulled over or you're outside without a face mask on, it's $1,000 or like 60 days in jail, something like that. It's kind of over the top, I think. And you don't want to be politically incorrect. I don't want anyone to get this bug that unnecessarily. So you want to keep people's health in mind, but at the same time, you're always suspect of a little bit of government overreach. Every time they get a little bit of power, you give them an inch, and they definitely want to take a mile. So we have to keep them in check.
Right. Yeah, it's not quite that bad here. Masks are still considered, up to the individual. It's not a requirement yet. But my city was kind of behind the rest of my district as far as instituting curfews and mandatory stay-at-homes and stuff like that. And just within the last couple of days, they actually instituted a curfew. And we actually had a church here in my district that got ticketed for having a service.
Wow.
Yeah, which the interesting part about that is the Indiana Attorney General actually said you can have services. You continue to have services, just practice social distancing, be safe. One of the Democrats that is currently running for the nomination for this district is a local mayor, and he was just gleeful that this happened.
Sure.
It blows my mind that anyone could be so anti, you know, learning about God. I can understand the people that are concerned and, you know, are like, hey, are they doing this? Are they doing that? But for a mayor to come out in such a violation of personal rights was really shocking to me.
Well, most of them, because you really can't confine that sort of attitude to just California or someplace where, when you have a Bernie Sanders movement that's as prevalent as it is, what we're dealing with as a country, not just on a state level, but as a country, we're looking at the rise of socialism. And that's where that sort of attitude comes from. It's a power grab. Every time they can lord it over somebody, and that's really what we're up against. I call it good and evil. It's enslavement of the masses by the few. It's not a bad gig if you're on the Central Committee, but
Right.
it's not such a great deal if you're one of the rest of us, right?
Right.
And every time these people, it's the same sort of persons, they get a little bit of power, they just want to lord it over everybody.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, I saw it in the military. We call them little Napoleons. You give them a little, little bit of respect, a little bit of authority, and hang on.
Yeah, yeah. I didn't serve, but I was a correctional officer, and I did see, I saw the same thing. These
Sure.
people that just a little bit of power over anyone else, and they're suddenly the ruler of their little kingdom. And holy cow, like it would go to their heads just immediately. You would get those guys that, would insist on basically using every ounce of power they had. Hey, grab a wall, I'm going to shake you down. When the guy isn't doing anything, and there's no need, for that. If they just got so much glee out of it,
Sure.
was the issue. They weren't just doing their job, they were truly like, mad with power, as it were. And that's an excellent name for it. The little Napoleon.
Right. And
yeah.
You know what? I'm a Christian. So, I before I got into this race, I'm a Christian filmmaker. So I kind of look at everything a little bit, through that lens. And what we're talking about, that's original sin. That's what Satan fell for. I wanted to be God. I wanted to be ruler over something else. And that's exactly what these people are. They, if you look at the Democrat platform, they've removed God from it.
Oh, yeah.
And so that makes them, in their own minds, God. And so that's what allows Nancy Pelosi and Maxine Waters and the lady I'm running against, Norma Torres, they consider themselves the ultimate authority because they don't believe there's a God above them. So they get to define everything for the rest of us. And when they say, this is right and this is wrong, why? Because I'm at the top of the food chain and you're not. And you think about, how does this really affect us? Well, when they say the baby's born alive, but you can still kill it, it's not murder. That's because I'm making the rules now. There is no God. I am God. And that's really what we're up against in this country. It's good and evil. It's a battle of right and wrong. And these people are not on the right side of it.
Right. I wholeheartedly agree. Anytime, one of the things that struck me most, and it's one of the reasons why I ultimately decided to do this and run for Congress, was listening to the state of New York legislators cheer when they passed that late term abortion bill. It made me sick to my stomach. It really deeply affected me. I was like, how can these people stand up and cheer over murder? I mean, I was like, the country has lost its mind. Like the world has. We knew that, but we kind of believed that America was different, right? We see all the things happening overseas, and it can't happen here. It'll never happen here, and we see it every day. We got a couple of questions here. Timothy says, "Hey Dion, what's your take on this unconstitutional curfew?" And then he follows it up with exactly what I believe, which is violates First, Fourth, and Fifth Amendments. I understand the need to do something, and that's with gun bans and all that stuff, you get the crowd that we must do something. but we, again, the reason this country is so great is because we have the Constitution that we follow, and we have to keep the Constitution above all else, including issues like, currently, where we have this virus, and the press lies, and these people are saying this and these people are saying that, and we have fake videos of hospitals and all that stuff going around. CBS got caught again doing it with a fake,
Sure.
circulating the Italy video again as a U.S. hospital. And we just have to remember that if it's the hard times where the Constitution is the most important. It's
Right.
During times like this where we have to fall back on the Constitution. So, to summarize, I think that we have a lot of government leaders that are overstepping their authority. And
at every opportunity.
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely.
No,
So-
and that's the thing. You kind of got to wonder, where the heck has common sense gone with so many people, right? It's not
Yeah.
so common anymore. If we have a virus that jumps from person to person, so readily and so easily, it's so transferable. Well, then, yeah, let's institute some safeguards to keep us from infecting each other. But this whole, you can't come out of your house between this hours and this hours. It's basically martial law by the legislative branch, and that's not cool. That's not that's not what we're about.
Right.
And so you just have to. This is where we need strong leadership from the executive side to say no, you guys are stepping over the line here. And there's we have these rights, since we're on the Constitution, that are, some of them are absolute. And I say that because they're not given by the government. The right to keep and bear arms is not given by the government. It's recognized by the government, but it's not bestowed by the government. It's something the government recognized is bestowed by God, just like
Right.
life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness.
Right.
And so in the First Amendment, there is a right for free assembly, and it's called the right of free assembly because it is another one bestowed by God, not the government. The government recognizes it. Now, free speech is different, and so is the press. It's not a right bestowed by God. It's something recognized by the government saying, this is something we want you to have. We can shut it down too. But the press seems to operate as if it has an absolute right to freedom. And that's where they've gone off the rails, because they don't have the right to spread lies and to make stuff up and to do all the fake stuff they're doing. That's wrong. And they should have their credentials yanked when they're so bad at their jobs. They're not press. They're propaganda.
Yeah, I agree. That's one thing that we had recently with really coming out more and more. We had a little stutter there for a second, but I think it fixed. I'm so glad that you said that, because I've said that before on my live streams. People have this big misunderstanding when it comes to the Constitution that the Bill of Rights grants these rights when the rights are already ours. It's was designed to limit government's infringement on these rights, and unfortunately, so many misunderstand that. So it's really good to hear that there's somebody out in California running that understands that, because
we're not all. There's actually a lot of conservatives in California.
Oh yeah.
And the problem here is voter fraud. So we don't get a fair shake. We're not accurately represented when the dead are voting and you have illegals voting and you have everybody voting against real registered citizens.
Yeah.
And once we fix that, you're going to see California go from a blue to a deep purple.
Oh, I believe that. It does, doesn't it? Yeah. I wanted to ask you, what kind of support have you found? Like, for example, my district here, First District, has been, Democrat led for 90 years. Over 90 years. I've told you that before.
That's worse than the California legislature.
Yeah, right. Exactly. So I was actually surprised by the sheer number of people that I've heard from. That's like, you'd be surprised, how many of us just need a good, real candidate to back, and not just someone who's part of the political process from the other side, right?
Right.
Is that kind of what you've seen out in California?
Yes. The establishment, it pervades both parties, and it's unfortunate, but that's really what's the good old boy network, and that's gotten shaken up by the president, obviously. But like my district years and years ago was held by Maxine Waters, actually, before it was all redistricted and redrawn, and now she's west of me. But and the lady I'm trying to unseat is a Guatemalan socialist. She really is, and there's for the life of me, I can't figure out how she stayed in office. But she's a good soldier for Nancy Pelosi. So a vote for Norma Torres is a vote for Nancy Pelosi. Trust me.
Yeah, it's funny you said that. Use that word, because the very guy who celebrated the closing, the ticketing of the church elders, right, actually got on the radio and said he basically loves Nancy Pelosi, and he looks forward to being her little soldier.
Wow.
Yeah. And I'm like, see, this is exactly what we're talking about. And he's one of the front runners, which is the really scary part. It's
how many people are in your race?
Well, we have 14 on the left running for the Democrat primary. Yeah, 14 people, and 6 on the right. So a total of 21, because we do have a libertarian candidate who's actually in the chat. But 14 from the Democrats, 6 from the Republicans, and a libertarian. And then it's just craziness. It really is.
Sure.
It's hard for anyone to kind of get a platform, and everything got canceled. But we had the initial forums that we were going to, and there was just so many people on stage. You got like 40 seconds to talk before, it was nuts. And then everything got canceled, so we had to figure it out. Once, like you, I'm sure, how did you adjust when all of a sudden the forums and debates and everything are all put on hold, and campaign events, you can't knock doors? What did you do?
You're looking at it.
Yeah.
I mean, this is really it. Like you said, you can't go out. I had some really big Second Amendment events coming up, with thousands and thousands of people, and they're all shut down.
Yeah,
and
which is so frustrating.
Yeah, you can't direct mail because no one wants to touch their mail. So really, this is it. Social media and email is pretty much all we really can do at this point, and that's okay. That's okay. God's in control. I'm not worried about it.
Right.
But now your process out there, we have out here what's called a jungle primaries. So it's the 2 top vote getters advance. I'm assuming out there it's the top from each party that advances.
Yeah, the way it works here is we all kind of go through the primary. It was supposed to be May 5th was supposed to be our primary. People go in, they vote. It's kind of odd. It's called an open primary in Indiana. They go, but when they vote, they kind of declare their party when they vote in the primary. You can only vote in one or the other, and then when you vote in that primary, it declares your party. Whoever wins the primary then becomes the Republican nominee. It's different in many different states, from my understanding. I am only really familiar with Indiana's. So how is it different out there?
Well, like I said, it's a jungle primary. So the top 2 vote getters advance to the general. So it could be 2 Democrats, it could be 2 Republicans. It's just the top 2 vote getters advance. Yeah,
that's really interesting. Like I said, it's different, I guess. Do they pick who who the Republican nominee is, or is it just like anybody can run, and then whoever gets the most votes, top 2, like you said, moves on to the general?
Yep, that's it.
Yeah, that's really weird. So if it's 2 Democrats, you're going to end up with a Democrat in office no matter what you do.
Exactly.
Yeah,
and that's what they've done. There's a number of districts that have the top two are Democrats. So, or it's out here. It's very few Republicans ever encounter that. But it's just myself and the incumbent out in this race, and that's it. My district is primarily white and Hispanic, blue collar, hardworking.
Yeah.
They love NASCAR and they love NHRA. They love drag racing.
Yeah.
And so kind of salt of the earth. And even though I have a lot of registered Democrats, they're not really Democrats. And that's what the message I have to get out is Hispanic values are Republican values.
They really are.
Lied to. Yeah, predominantly. Well, and I challenge it. Tell me what's not.
Right.
Tell me any values you have that are not Republican values.
No, I agree. And that's one thing that we're seeing because we have a sizable Hispanic population in Northwest Indiana as well. And one thing that I've found is the legal immigrant community shares President Trump's values as far as immigration goes. They're against it. They're against illegal immigration. They're in favor of, come here legally. I did, why should you be able to jump the line? They share conservative values. It's, pretty much the entire Hispanic community lines up with Republican values.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And the interesting part is it's only because of the co-opting of the Spanish speaking stations that you even have as much division in the Hispanic community as you have.
Right. No, it's, I said this before, in 3 questions, I can make one of these people see, they realize that their values are aligned with mine more than anybody else's. And I say, do you want to be the first line of defense for yourself and your family? Do you want a gun in the house? Well, yes. Well, then you need to vote for me. Second, do you want to teach your kids your values? Do you want a public school teacher to do it? Do you want to teach your kids your religion? Do you want the state to teach you that? No, I want to teach them. Well, then you got to vote for me because I do too. And out here, it's just bad out here. Do you want a grown man running around the restroom with your wife or your daughter? And they go, oh, no. I go, yeah that's right. Yeah, that's exactly why you got to vote for me.
Right. Right. And I think it really is that important. It's a really good way to explain it to people because the message has been so corrupted by, the mainstream media and the talking points and twisting, words and changing things around, breaking it down very simply. I really like that. I might,
you should use it.
Yeah, absolutely. I like it.
We're on the same team, man. Whatever I can do to help you. We need to get you, me, a whole bunch of people like us in the house. And and then, look, how much could the president have gotten done this last term if he hadn't had to fight the Democrats every step of the way, from the Mueller thing to the impeachment garbage, which distracted everyone from Wuhan. I'm convinced that a lot of lives have been lost because Nancy Pelosi, Adam Schiff, and all the Democrats had this impeachment fiasco. And they had the Senate sequestered in the chambers. They couldn't even leave. So what were they not doing? Well, they weren't going to intel briefings. I know that. So how much was lost in November and December while this virus was growing in Wuhan?
Yeah.
And I can point right at them. It's your fault.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. The timing is extremely suspicious on everything. I mean, we had this impeachment nonsense. And like you said, going back to the Mueller investigation, the Russia hoax, which the mainstream media has still not apologized for. They have still not addressed their audience and said, at the very least, we were lied to by our sources, right? The sources that we claimed were so highly placed and had this, crucial information, this smoking gun that the president was a Russian agent. They've never said to their viewers, we're sorry about that.
Right.
Because all they've done is deflect, because as soon as the Mueller report said no collusion, absolutely no evidence of collusion, it was, oh, obstruction, obstruction, obstruction. And then, of course, the phone call nonsense and just going on from there. But the timing is incredibly suspicious, because it's right at that moment during that impeachment nonsense when this virus made its way, out of Wuhan and happened and, started worming its way across. And like you said, they weren't attending intel briefings. They weren't able to do anything else but be sequestered to vote for this or that. And
the media is never going to apologize for this. And this goes back to what we were talking about at the head of the conversation. When you don't have any rules outside yourself, things like telling lies is okay.
Yeah.
The ends justify the means to the media. And telling a lie to the American people is okay as long as it's in support of our hatred for Trump. And that they'll lie all day long. And this is why they cannot have absolute power of the press. The First Amendment doesn't give them that. And it's, so they're never going to fess up because they didn't think they did anything wrong. Why? Because they're the rule makers.
Mm-hmm.
That's what they think. I'm the rule maker. Whatever it takes is okay.
Right.
There's no standard above themselves.
Marie asked, is there any way for me to see what others are saying? I can only see me. I'm trying to put comments up on the screen, because the one downside that this particular program has is you can only see on the same platform that you're on. So if you're on Facebook, you're only going to see the stuff that Facebook has put, other Facebook users are posting. If you're on YouTube, which is where you're watching it from, you're only going to see what other YouTube commenters are putting. So unfortunately, I'm trying to put as many as I can on the screen. You'll see those. Like Timothy Jones said, only two genders, male and female. And that's correct. That's correct. All this gender stuff, it just doesn't make any sense, and it flies in the face of science. And it's really funny because to me it's amusing, because this is allegedly the party of science when it comes to climate change and all that stuff. No, the science is there. The science is there.
It's science fiction.
Right. That's
what they are, the science fiction party. Right.
But you don't want to rely on the science that says there's nothing, sorry, there's two chromosomes, and there are other issues there as well. We know what the end game is on that.
Sure.
But let's see here. Timothy Jones, whoops, she's not Facebook. Timothy Jones said, poor Trump wants closed, secure borders. Democrats know we want open borders. Trump says close travel with China. Now they call Trump racist. Poor guy, can't make him happy. He's getting my vote.
And he's never going to make them happy.
Oh, no. He could cure every disease on the planet, and they would say, why didn't you do it sooner?
Right. Or we deserve those diseases. You don't have a right to take them away from it. Give me that. Give me that typhus. I need that bubonic plague right now.
Right? It's all going to come down to, my prediction, if that were to happen, right? If Trump suddenly said, look, we can cure every single disease, we can cure world hunger, the argument's going to be overpopulation.
Right. Oh,
right?
Truly.
If we do away with all diseases, then, we're going to have too many.
Welcome to Bill Gates land.
Yes, exactly. Bill Gates, the guy who wants to put a tracking chip or tattoo in all of us, ID 2020, the whole, NWO agenda that they have going on. It really is scary. And, all we can do is make light of it, because currently as individuals, we can talk about it. We can, run for Congress.
And I can do something about it.
Right. When we get in there, hopefully we can start doing stuff. But right now we have to take our amusement, I guess, because if you take everything seriously, it's just going to crush you. It's going to crush your spirit.
And that's, again, where being a Christian, I don't worry about any of this stuff. I know like I said to someone earlier, that I don't know what tomorrow holds, but I know who holds tomorrow. And so I don't worry about any of this stuff.
Right. Right, exactly. Because you
No,
can't
it's out of my
sit there.
control.
Yep, yep. You can't sit there and be worried about every single thing because mental illness is prevalent in every community. It doesn't care about your race, your creed, your gender. It's very very real. We have
Mm.
people that are just so freaked out by the media's portrayal of the fear, the pushing the fear. Uh, there was a guy who just the other day jumped out of a building in New York, and I blame the media because when you look at the numbers, yeah, there's a virus. Yes, it's real, but to the level of terror that they have people, scared to leave their house, calling the police on people who leave their house,
Mhm.
is just it's
Welcome to
unconscionable.
Nazi Germany.
Exactly,
Right.
exactly, and it's. Do we really think about what this leads to? I mean, this is just the first step.
Mhm.
We already have governors and mayors that are instituting you know uh, lockdowns, essentially. Papers please. It's terrifying.
Yeah, yeah. I think we're going to come out of this a little smarter, a little wiser as a people, and I think we're going to reject, a lot of the power grabs. Speaking of viruses, though,
Hmm.
I just putting the finishing touches on a video that I'm going to put on social media here, hopefully later, where I've been doing a lot of research. People have been sending me a lot of stuff, and it turns out that they may be doing it all wrong. That what we're looking at here, and I don't, you can correct me if you know something different,
Hmm.
but the primary problem here with the COVID, they're treating it as if you get pneumonia, that your lungs are filling with fluid and you're basically going to drown.
Hmm.
But it turns out that a lot of this is due to the inability of the red blood cell to pick up an oxygen molecule from the lungs. So
Really?
what's happening is it looks like you're respirating. They're filling your lungs with fluid, but it never makes it to the red blood cells because the COVID virus is blocking that picking that molecule up and taking it to the rest of the tissue. And so the respirators and stuff are actually doing more damage because they're causing scar tissue by artificially inflating the lungs and doing that sort of thing.
Wow. Yeah. You know what? I just recently saw something that was, they've been begging for all these respirators. And I just read that like the chances of survival are like 20% if you're on a respirator. But if not, and it sounds like it leads to what you were saying, because initially it was, oh, it causes pneumonia, and then I heard that it doesn't actually,
Right.
that it's something
Well,
else. So
and
yeah, I'd be very interested in seeing what you
they're
got.
looking at the wrong thing. It's not the lungs. You got to look at the blood. It's not
Hmm.
the lungs. So what and another guy I was checking his stuff out who was following Wuhan very closely said that all this is due to the horseshoe bat, that the Chinese were invested or doing experiments on the horseshoe bat because, like most mammals, they create vitamin C, but humans don't. We have to get vitamin C from an outside source. And it's the same with the horseshoe bat, or so they thought, because they had no detectable levels of vitamin C in the bat. They thought it had to get it from an outside source as well. But then when they started testing the bat feces, they found vitamin C. They found high levels in healthy bats and low levels in bats that are unhealthy. So what they figured out in this process is the bats actually create vitamin C. And this is where it seems they discovered the COVID virus, that this virus was attacking bats with unhealthy levels of vitamin C. And it would go straight to the healthy tissue. It would swarm, it would mass produce and take this bat down quickly. All this is to say that the key might be vitamin C, that it could be as
Wow.
simple as high, healthy levels of vitamin C. Now, it doesn't mean you won't get the virus, but the virus won't go into aggression mode if it detects high levels of vitamin C.
That's
It could stay
interesting.
suppressed. Oh,
Yeah.
I think this might be the key. It
Yeah.
might be as simple as high level, and that's basically a dietary change because there's so many foods that are high in vitamin C, and you can take supplements. But if that's the key, then this is going to make, again, it's not going to eradicate it.
Right.
It's not going to get it out of your system. And I would not advocate for, taking your mask off, keep the social distancing, because we're not trying to share this virus. But if you encounter it, I'd like to encounter it with a little more than a mask.
Yeah.
And if I know that I have high level of vitamin C and that'll at least keep this thing suppressed, that's massive. Then we can go back to work.
Definitely.
We can live our lives.
Right. Well, I just read an article earlier today that was essentially talking about how, I remember it was Barr when he appeared on, I think it was Laura Ingraham, and he was talking about just how crazy it was that the press went into overdrive when Trump mentioned hydrochloroquine, right?
Right.
And it's like, why are they so opposed to something that might work? And I think it's obvious they want this election interfered with because they know that they're, look, I'm not saying that the virus was planted or any of that yet. I want, unadulterated evidence for that. But I definitely think that the press we know that they're complicit in attacks against the president and making sure that, fake news, all that. And for them to go on the attack, why, right? Who benefits from that? The only one
especially
who
a medicine that's been around for decades.
Right. Yeah, like what?
It doesn't need to
years?
be tested.
Right. Right. And the so-called side effects, which is what they're, watch out for side effects, watch out for side effects. The side effects don't even come from that. It comes from the Z-Pack, the azithromycin. Right. Catch up real quick on comments here. Timothy asked, what is your take about these prisoners being released? I'll go first and then you. How about that? Look, I don't agree with it. I don't agree with it. These people, for one, how does releasing people from prison, number one, most of them are just furloughs, so they're temporary releases. How many of these people do you think are honestly going to show back up to be reincarcerated when this is over?
Reincarcerate me, please.
Right. Please, by all means, lock me back up. The other thing is, at least in the prison, they're in a controlled environment.
Yes.
They can actually do the steps that are necessary in order to, granted, it's not a clean environment, but if people actually take the steps, they're already in isolation. Like, isn't that the goal? Social distancing, isolation. Right. So, that's my take on it. It's, once again, we're seeing local leaders and stuff like that going way beyond what I feel their powers are.
No, absolutely right.
Yeah.
You want people in a controlled environment. I don't know of any more controlled environment than being in jail or prison.
Right.
And they can absolutely, separate people and put distance between them. And here's the crazy thing, though. They're letting these criminals out all in the under the guise of, we're trying to keep them safe. But if you don't wear your mask, we're going to throw you in jail.
Right. Because that makes sense. Right. We're going to let everybody out, but
we're going to let the criminal out. But if you don't wear your mask, you're going in.
Right. Exactly.
I mean, it's just idiocy. I mean, we're run by idiots in large part. And that's why I couldn't take it anymore. I just couldn't. And then on top of that, out here in California, they're releasing the inmates and closing the gun stores.
Oh yeah, are they still? That's what I had heard. Is they're still fighting to keep the gun stores closed out there, despite President Trump saying.
The greatest thing our president is doing for California is flipping judges on the Ninth Circuit, because that will directly affect all these lawsuits that are going to come up through the state,
right?
And they're going to get kicked up to the federal level. And now there's some people with some common sense that go, no, and I actually wrote a letter and did a press release, because when they started this, I could see where it was going. And I said, well, first, can you allocate additional resources out here, federal resources, or can you augment with federal resources? And if you can't, then please suspend any laws or city ordinances that prohibit the sale or the purchase of firearms, because you're letting the criminals out and you're making the rest of us defenseless, those who don't have a gun already. There's no one in the state to process the firearms purchases and all that. So you're basically saying, hey folks, here's your criminals and you're defenseless.
Right. Absolutely. That's like
that's what the Second Amendment was created for.
Exactly. And we have it, I won't say we have it good, because obviously nothing's perfect when it comes to protecting the Second Amendment due to all the federal laws on the books. But I believe we have it a lot better in Indiana than in California as far as our gun laws go.
Sure.
Don't they have, can you guys even buy so-called assault weapons out there?
No.
Rifles with pistol grips and stuff like that.
The mean-looking ones, no.
Right? Because they're black and scary. Right.
Yeah. If they're rainbow colors, no.
Right. Yeah. Is it hard to get a concealed carry permit out there?
Depends on the county, but yes, it can be. It can be impossible in some counties.
Okay, that's what I've heard. Yeah, it's a lot easier here. Indiana is a shall issue, So basically, unless they can prove you shouldn't have it, whereas California is, my understanding, is more of a we'll decide who gets it.
Right, prove you have a need for it.
Right. Okay. Let's see, going back just a little bit here. Paul said Littlefoot, he's talking about Lightfoot, Chicago mayor, allowing her popo to do checkpoints to pass out literature to residents now. It's really just to find violations. Yeah, they're setting up checkpoints so that they can hand out literature, right?
Right.
But in the meantime, since they have you stopped, where are you going? What are you doing? Stuff like that. It's another violation, of rights. Let's see.
So they're handing out literature.
Yeah, about, COVID and social distancing and stuff like that. So
they have to approach within 6 feet to hand it to you.
Right.
And then they have to hand it to you, which means if they're not gloved, then they just passed you a virus.
Yeah.
So breathed on you in the window.
Yeah, they're violating the social distancing rules in order to, teach you about the rules.
Right. Do as I say, not as I do.
Right, Maurice. yeah, exactly. And you know what? She proved that too, because she put this ban out, right, on with everything, and then immediately went out and had a haircut.
Nice.
Yeah, because in her words, you can't, she closed all the barbershops and closed all, basically everything, and then immediately went out and got a haircut, and she got caught, and people were like, what are you doing? And she's like, well, I'm in the public eye, so I need a haircut.
Right. And so the person cutting her hair didn't have a mask on either, I imagine.
Yeah, come on. It's just so ridiculous. It is. You see it all over the country.
It's hypocrisy.
Yeah, it's so thick you can taste it in the air. It's like, really. Yeah, it would be funny if it wasn't so sad. Let's see here.
And if it actually didn't affect people.
Right, exactly. Here's the thing is, we have so many people now that are filing for unemployment. We had, this amazing booming economy, and within no time has just been ground to dust beneath the heels of this virus scare. The virus itself hasn't done very much damage at all. Let's be real. Yes, people have died. Yes, people have, gotten sick. A lot of people have recovered. You don't hear the media talking about that. It's more about, the fear, right? But it's the social distancing and the essential businesses. And that's another thing, government telling us what's essential and what's not. That's what has destroyed the economy. People not being able to go to work, companies laying people off. It's horrible.
Right. Are you getting more comments? Mine, everything seems frozen on this end.
Is it? Okay, yeah, let's see. Paul had said, oh, well, first, hold on. Going back just a little bit here. Marie had said vitamin C is the answer to everything, by the way. Intravenous vitamin C has cured cancer. I believe that.
Genius.
Yeah, I believe that. Here's the problem is the stuff that would actually work isn't profitable for the pharmaceutical industry, so it gets suppressed. Just like the oil companies spent so much time and energy and money buying up all the patents for anything that would, threaten their empire. Paul said, which is why protein and HGBs are crucial for anyone with a major disease. I agree. Marie talking about the virus being planted. You can say it, Dion, because there's a lot of info leading to that fact. It was planted. Here's the thing. I try to be very careful only to say things that I have facts for, because I don't have all of the facts for that yet. I personally believe that this was all connected. We've got way too many incidents. We've got a professor that was arrested with ties to Wuhan, China. We have a biological lab in China, right up the road from the alleged initial, location of this virus. He was caught with, multiple vials of biological material. It's, there's so much evidence, but not quite enough to go, yes, this, because our media refuses to do their job. So, as citizen journalists, people have to get out there and look into it themselves. And right now it's a networking issue because conservatives are being shadow banned. They're being, their tweets are being censored.
Right.
People are getting kicked off of Twitter left and right just for
that's why I hope we get
truth.
some of these Republicans, these billionaire Republicans, just buy the company.
Right.
I don't hate the platform. I hate the censorship. So just buy it,
right,
and make them stop all the the algorithmic censorship. That'd be nice.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Well, that's I forget the guy's name, but I heard that he bought the majority shares of Twitter and is actually trying to get rid of Jack, the CEO.
Jack.
Yeah, good old Jack. We'll see how that plays out. He used to be there. He was part of the Never Trumpers. So I don't know if he still is, but he's a multi-millionaire at least, perhaps billionaire. He's super rich. He's got more money than I'll ever see for sure. Most of American, will never ever see that much money. So he's got the money. He bought up a whole bunch of shares. We'll have to see what happens with that. I'm hoping that at the very least it leads to far less censorship. Maybe he can, get in there and make some changes. That's the hope. It's a good platform. I don't. Yeah,
I like it. In large part. Facebook too. The one I have most trouble with is Instagram. I still don't find it as quite as easily to push a message out or
right.
share
That's
things.
fine.
I'm learning.
That's the thing with Instagram is unless you use the IGTV, which I can't stream to, then it's really hard to get any kind of video content up there or anything like that, which that's my whole thing is just me being me. I share my memes and stuff. Great. But actually talking, and it's not really a good format for just text, it's pictures, it's this, it's that, and little short video clips, which I got to get better at, but it's a learning curve, like everything else.
TikTok is another one I got to explore.
Same. I actually have the guy who is a childhood friend of my wife's who helped me do my intro video. He's trying to figure it out and help me because he does video editing and stuff. But let's see here, looking down.
Cannabis, baby.
Yeah. Yeah, that's another thing. How do you feel about federal legalization of marijuana?
Well, it's against the law.
Right. Well, that's what I mean. What do you feel about? What do you feel about changing that?
Well, if enough states want to change it, I'm not I guess my view on this is medicinal use, the CBD pain relief industry,
Mhm.
and using it for glaucoma, things like that. How do you not support that?
Right.
What I don't want is pot in the hands of teenagers
Right.
and on
Right. Well, we have
people
that now.
driving impaired
Yeah.
and that sort of thing. So I think I think in large part we've discovered a lot about a plant and an industry that wouldn't have happened, but it still needs tighter reins on it. And I do believe, and I know you can attest to this because you were a law enforcement, it is a gateway drug,
Mhm.
and it does it there's a real dark side to it as well. So how do you embrace the benefits but mitigate that dark side? And that's we have to work through that. But right now, we don't have enough people to say it's legal. So federally,
Right.
it's still illegal.
Right. Right. Well, here's my whole stance on it is I believe it needs to be taken off the controlled substances list federally because CBD is minorly effective for some issues, but PTSD, anxiety, the VA cannot prescribe as long as it's on that list,
Mhm.
right? And many veterans who are suffering don't need to be. I personally would like to see it handled on the state level.
It
Take
should
it
be
on,
handled on the
yeah.
state level.
I'm all for states' rights. Take it off the federal
Right.
level because, like Michigan, for example, Michigan legalized it. We're surrounded by states that legalized it.
Mhm.
Michigan, Illinois, Ohio. What Michigan did though is like the whole state it's legal, but then individual counties and cities can determine whether they want it sold there or whether not, right? So they keep it, out of their area that way. I don't know that I want it on, at the local gas station where you can go and buy a pack, but in order for it to be able to be given to those who truly need it, I think it needs to come down on the federal level and allow states to do with it what they need to do. Much like we see with just about everything else in that regard, as far as alcohol.
Right.
Like for many years, Indiana didn't have alcohol sales on Sunday. That only recently changed. That goes back to the 1800s. You won't find that in in Illinois or Michigan, for example. People used to go across the border into Michigan to buy it on Sundays. Sure. They handle it on the state level. Even though alcohol is legal, Indiana was still able to ban the sale, for a period of time or a day or whatever. Let's see here.
And absolutely, it's a federal overreach in a lot of areas.
Yeah. And
that's kind of why I jumped into this race too, because I saw, not only is it the overcoming states' rights, but just the crumbling between the three branches.
Right.
The legislature trying to dictate to the executive, and then both of them trying to make the Supreme Court the ultimate arbiter. It's not supposed to be like that.
Right. The Supreme Court shouldn't be deciding laws anyway. I mean, that's not what they're for, or creating laws, I should say, like Roe v. Wade and other instances where the Supreme Court says this is the law when it was never established via the courts like it should be. Or not the courts, by a Congress, the legislature, right.
Right.
Let's see. Marie says, I have documents on it going back to the virus. I'd like to see those by all means. Send them, send me a link for that. Email me, Dion@dionbergeron.com. I'd love to see that. Marie says, so everything brings it back to using common sense. Taking what we know about Fauci and other doctors speaks volumes. Right. These guys are as deep state as they come. Right. Fauci has been in picture after picture after picture with, the hierarchy members of the so-called cabal or deep state or whatever you want to call them, the evil conglomerate that is working against President Trump, the Never Trumper, brigade. He's friends with all of them, and the WHO has outright lied on multiple occasions. Fauci is now trying to walk back his comments that he blatantly misstated. You're absolutely right.
Yeah. The thing I have with him, he predicted, before the Trump administration rolled in, that there would be a surprise pandemic. And my question then is, If you knew it, then why were you surprised by it?
Right. Right. Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. That's exactly right. And that's another thing. We had all these people that are suspiciously involved, right?
Mm-hmm.
Not just regular people or this guy over here, but people that are suspiciously at the heart of this. Bill Gates being one of them, right? We know his connections with the Purebright Institute and all of that. If you don't, by all means, look into Bill Gates and the Purebright Institute and where his money has gone as far as viral research and stuff like that, who are deeply involved in this, who said we're definitely going to be looking at a pandemic soon, right? They could have easily spent their money to make sure that people were prepared. But they don't want people prepared. They want people scared so that they'll sign up for whatever they offer up as the cure / vaccine. And we see it all the time.
Yeah, no, it's disturbing. But that in that whole equation, I trust the president and I trust the vice president.
Yeah.
And whatever's going on around them, I know those two are smarter than everybody else in the room.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I do agree with that. And it's really interesting that I've seen is, I'll admit, I was very, very grudgingly voting for Donald Trump in 2016. I mean,
really?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, absolutely. Here's the thing. I liked the guy. I really did. But I didn't know if I wanted him as president. Like, I liked the things that he said at his rallies. Like, I watched some of the things. I was like, he says a lot of good things, but does he mean them? Right?
Right.
But obviously the alternative, no way. So I'm like, yeah, I'll vote for the guy. I haven't regretted it. I have not regretted voting for him at all. It fascinates me to watch how expertly he manipulates the press, the Democratic Party, the world leaders, how expertly he sets the trap for them and they jump right into it.
I said that over and over during the Republican primary back in 2016.
Mm-hmm.
This guy is a master at giving you just enough rope.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. It was fascinating to me. And
I mean, guys that I never thought would take it. Ted Cruz among them. I didn't think he would, but yes, he got just enough rope and then he hung himself. And here's the thing. For anybody watching this, President Trump's greatest asset, I fully believe this, is making his opponent underestimate him.
Yep.
Every time.
Yep, absolutely. Absolutely. It blows my mind how willing they are to just throw it out there and be like, oh, this guy's never going to, and then he does that and more.
He's like, about 5 moves ahead and Always. They still haven't caught on.
They still haven't figured that out. Mm-hmm. I don't understand. It's either they keep jumping into it or they're being forced to. And that's another, popular theory out there, because let's face it, the NSA, we've been shown they have everything, right? The NSA monitors everyone. So whoever controls the NSA has all this data. Obviously, the president controls the NSA. So that leads to a lot of interesting scenarios if the deep state actually controlled people via blackmail and things like that. Well, now Trump has all the material. So he can make these people do whatever he wants, but the ones that aren't are still either rock stupid or just continually outmaneuvered, which is fascinating to watch. Oh, yeah. If you can just zoom out and take emotion out of it and just look at it from a top-down perspective, oh my goodness, it's just vastly entertaining.
What is also amazing is that he he's the puppet master. He was one of the top dogs in Hollywood. And so, and I think that's a source of a lot of the anger towards him, because he was such a loved Democrat for so long.
Yeah.
That they feel he absolutely betrayed them.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Yeah, yes. I think so. And, that's been brought up over and over. While he's not really a Republican, look at the walkaway movement. Are you saying all these people who realized what the Democratic Party were actually doing and were actually about are not real Republicans because they realized that we're actually for conservative values? Right. No, of course they're real Republicans. I've pointed it out before. Donald Trump is just as like anyone else to make a mistake. He's a human. For many, many years, the Democrat Party had a lot of people fooled. The walkaway movement, the Brexit movement upon movement, right. People are seeing what they're really about and going, wow, yeah, okay. And it just gets exposed more and more and more every day. I mean, right. It's just so blatant now.
Yeah. If you have any sort of traditional values, if you have traditional religious views, anything like that, you can't be a Democrat. Right. It's just they're out of control.
Yeah, and that's the thing too, is if you believe, I look at it like this: if you believe in God, then you kind of have to believe that God creates life. Mm-hmm. I mean, you have to. If God exists, then God creates life. So everything living is created by God. So abortion is destroying something God created.
Right.
How do you resolve that being for that?
Well, legislatively, the best thing we've done so far are these heartbeat bills. If it has a heartbeat, it's alive. Right. Matter of fact, if it has a heartbeat, it has to be alive. Mm-hmm. Forget about the fact that, how do you even have a heart without all the systems that go together to create a heartbeat. But let's just say, forget about all that stuff. If it has a heartbeat, it's alive. It has to be alive. And here's the crazy thing about the race I'm in. Is I'm running against a lady who was a 911 operator years ago. So it struck me when I jumped in this race.
Oh, wow.
A 911 operator, if they get a call and they have to go, is the person alive or dead? I don't know. Check for a pulse, a heartbeat.
Yeah.
So if it has a heartbeat to a 911 operator, they're alive. How is it any different with a baby with a heartbeat?
Right, exactly. That's fast. And she was a Democrat. She was pro-abortion.
Oh yeah, I mean she toes the line.
Yeah,
she's yeah. I have a picture of her with Pocahontas, and it's
Pocahontas.
It's a Planned Parenthood shirt.
Yeah,
she's gotten all kinds of awards for being such a baby killer.
Wow, that's crazy. That's crazy. I don't understand how. I personally, to me, it requires mental gymnastics to be able to convince yourself that that's not a living, creature, that it's not a life. To call anything, a clump of cells, especially like you said, once it has a heartbeat, how can you possibly believe that that's not alive? Know, just like even taking it a step further, the what was it, the pain where they start to feel pain, right? Mm-hmm. And they're still talking about how no, that doesn't matter. But yet the very same people are petitioning, against meat and fur and things like that because animals are being harmed.
Right. Well, it's even here's how bad it is. The same people who are going to be against babies will look at a molecule on Mars and see evidence of life. Mm-hmm. And here you've got a baby in a womb, and you don't see that as life,
right?
But you see a few cells on Mars and go, oh, it must be life.
Right.
Where's the disconnect?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, if a virus,
it's intelligent suicide.
Yeah, and it makes no sense. It makes no sense at all.
Yeah. The Bible refers to them as wise fools.
Yeah. I agree. And, once again, it's the left versus right with the left, the left hand and the right hand. I always wondered why it was called, the left and the right. But, now it's becoming just so abundantly clear. Paul said, I got to make sure I show this because he corrected me. That's not totally accurate. Sunday sales of craft beer sold directly by brewers had been permitted on Sundays for many years previous to Sunday retail law being changed. It wasn't as known outside the craft beer industry /fans. See, I didn't know that because I wasn't a craft beer guy. I personally don't drink, but it's good to know. See, I can accept when I'm wrong. It happens all the time. My kids say it happens far more than it does, but they're not honest. So, so yeah. Let's see what oh, Marie says she worked on the president. You're talking about the President Trump's campaign, I assume. She worked on his campaign. That's awesome. I here's the thing. Once I decided, okay, yeah, I'm going to vote for him, I had no problem wearing the hat and the shirt. Which, let me tell you an interesting story. It was right after the election, and my oldest son's best friend is Hispanic, right? Very obviously Hispanic. I had a shirt that said I oil my guns with liberal tears, and it had crossed AR-15s on it. Sure. And I had my Keep America Great hat, because I had got the Keep America Great one. I didn't have the MAGA hat. I had a CAG hat. And we went out to Walmart because we needed to pick something up. And while we were at Walmart, this lady, she saw my shirt, right? Mm-hmm. And you could tell she was upset about it. And she's getting her phone and she's taking an angry picture of me. Mm-hmm. And then she looks over my shoulder and sees my oldest son with his best friend. And like, her face just turns red. And I'm not going to repeat the exact words because they are kind of vile, but she's like, and he's with the Mexican too. Can you believe this? To her friend. And I'm like, what is going on? And she starts like muttering racist and walking away. I assume she was talking about Trump, but I'm like, who's the racist here? The person who's talking about race, or the person who's just, spending time with his son and his son's friend? It boggles my mind. Again, the mental gymnastics that are necessary. Do you have that out there at all? Just the level.
This is the home of the Trump derangement syndrome.
Yeah, that's kind of what I figured. See, that's the only issue that I've had. I don't have a problem, wearing my stuff, but I wanted to get a massive flag for the front yard, a Trump 2020 flag. And my wife actually was like, please don't, because she's worried about the kids, So
isn't that sad?
It is.
We have to worry about the
so
physical violence and the destruction and the vandalism, mm-hmm. because we're not allowed to express our political views.
Yeah.
But but they can put Hillary Clinton, or in this case it's going to be Joe Biden, but no one's going to remember where they put their stuff.
Right.
I put up a meme a while back. It said Joe Biden's the only candidate who can hide his own Easter eggs.
I like that. That's good. That's good.
Yeah. So I wish I could claim credit for that one, but
yeah. No, that's a good one. I just saw. Well, first of all, Marie said she met him. Wow, that's pretty cool. Marie says, the stories we can tell you about TDS. We can't walk outside in our Trump shirts here in Silicon Valley. That's crazy. My area is worse than where Mike lives. See, it's so sad, and that was one thing I actually I'm going to wear my stuff. I don't care. I'm going to, do whatever it takes. And it actually took my wife sitting me down and saying, it's not you I worry about. I know you can defend yourself. It's not you I worry about. It's people taking out their anger on my kids.
Right.
And I'm all about expressing my opinion, but because I was going to get like big graphics on my truck, the Trump on a tank meme.
Mm-hmm.
Do you seen that? I was actually going to get that in vinyl on the hood of my truck. And
we have to be careful, because it's, even though we're encountering these people that are like that, mm-hmm. I don't fault them. I fault the media.
The media, exactly. Yeah, and that's what it is. Yeah.
That's the one I can't wait to go toe to toe with.
Oh, yeah.
The media.
Yeah. And it really is. It's a crime. It is an absolute crime what they have perpetrated on the American people. And more evidence every single day of the fake news, the fake stuff that they just share over and over and over. And it's gone beyond, really, it's beyond the point of ridiculous at this point. It's
Right.
just so incredibly infuriating that
Well,
we're still here.
these companies exist under certain federal protections,
Mhm.
and those need to go away.
Thank you. Yes, yes, I wholeheartedly agree. That's like with Twitter and Facebook. They have the best of both worlds right now because they're not being prosecuted for violating the publisher platform, diversity that they're doing. They get the best of both worlds. They get to,
Right.
just
No,
do whatever
I
they
would
want.
love to open it up and let a whole army of lawyers have at them.
Oh yeah. Oh, absolutely. And that's what I'm hoping. I know that there's a lot of stuff coming.
That's why we got to get you in Congress.
Oh yeah, yeah, absolutely. You too. I mean, we have just
I mean, your name is great. I was thinking about that earlier.
yeah.
Dion Bergeron. It sounds like something out of an MMA match. And in this corner, we have Dion Bergeron.
Let's get ready to rumble.
Yeah, I love it.
Right? It would kind of go, wouldn't it? Maybe I'll use that for my show at my daily
That'd be
podcast.
awesome.
Yeah, yeah. So that's what I meant to ask you. Do you do like a daily or weekly or a month? Is there a certain time that you like do lives, or do you just put out like videos at different times? Or
I want to get into more of a scheduled thing.
okay,
Right now, it's just whenever something hits me that I want to say, I'll do something. I did something a couple weeks back when the stimulus came out, and it hit me. Who's paying for it? Who is going to pay for the $2 trillion stimulus? And I had talked to a friend of mine who's in Congress right now, and he kind of pointed me in the right direction. And it's who's going to, how do we pay for $2 trillion? Well, the government's going to issue bonds and it's going to issue treasuries. But who's going to buy these instruments? Well, if China buys them, then we just took on $2 trillion of debt
yeah.
to China
Mhm.
because
In
of the
addition to what
virus
we
we
already
got
own.
from China.
From China, yeah, yeah.
Right? So
Yeah.
while Trump is negotiating to save us billions, hundreds of billions, it still pales in comparison to the debt we just took on for trillions to
Right.
China.
Right. That's the thing that frustrates me so much about all this is people just don't seem to understand. Forget about the rights violations. Forget about, the totalitarianism that's going on right now. Forget about all that. The destruction of our economy is going to end up costing, in my opinion, far more lives and quality of life than this virus ever will. Right? We have millions of people that are unemployed. We have millions of people that can't pay their rent. They can't pay their electric bill, their water bill. They're not going to be able to make their car payment. And that's something not a lot of people are talking about. Right. Yeah. There's this moratorium on evictions. There's not a moratorium on car insurance. There's not a moratorium on car payments. People are going to get their stuff towed. And tow truck drivers right now are hurting because there's far less people on the road. So they're going to be jumping to take any repo, and these are all things that are, even when this stuff gets lifted, if these people have lost their vehicle, going back to
How are they
work
gonna
is
go
going to
to
be
work?
hard.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Right.
It's just stuff that's not being
Yeah.
considered here.
The only light I see in this is our president. And like we were talking earlier, he's got a plan. I just know it.
Oh yeah.
And I can see shades of it. I can see, why did we have to go this far in, and I think we ought to go another week or so into April.
Mhm.
And it has nothing to do with the virus. It has to
Right.
do with the stimulus. And I had also
Yeah.
said this, that it's like a pump. Now, we shut the water off, and if you want to get this pump going again, you got to prime it. And this is where we need the stimulus. It has to be what causes the pump to be primed before it'll gush water. Because if you start pumping and you don't have that water in there, it's going to be dry.
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
we've got to have the stimulus in place, and then he'll take the chains off. Will he do it 100%? I don't think so. I think there's going to be quarantine areas, New York, LA, but you can't. Again, it shouldn't be a one size fits all prescription for this.
Right, it can't be because different areas of the country are very different, which is why I'm all about the states' rights, because Indiana is very different than California. California is very different than Illinois. Just out of curiosity, I've seen. Oh, yeah, real quick. Mike said the repo business is great right now. My guys hooked 23 cars last night. Yeah. I mean, and it has to be because they're not getting tows otherwise. I have a friend who's a tow truck driver. Actually helps with my campaign, and he's hurting. I mean, he's hurting bad. They went from 30 calls a night to 1 or 2. But do you think, because you said you have your friend in Congress, you seem to have a lot of insider type information. Do you believe, because there's a lot of rumors floating around, that we're going to see the destruction of the Fed?
No.
Okay. All right. No. I kind of tend to think that as well. People are very, very excited about it and seem to read into a lot of things. I don't think we're to that yet. I think I would like to see it. Don't get me wrong. I'd love to get rid of the Fed, but I don't think we're to that yet. I think a few more things have to happen before we're ready for that. But certainly would be nice. But at this point, I think destroying the Fed too would just have such a massive ripple effect that it would do more harm than good right now.
Yes. There's too many interdependent systems that are at work that rely on the Fed for nothing more than guidance. If nothing else, it has to have its finger on the pulse in a way that a lot of larger institutions still need. And you're right, the ripple effect would be devastating. So can we work towards that, though? Absolutely.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I agree.
I think we're going to work hard and fast in that direction to have nothing else to curtail its influence on the marketplace as a whole. But I don't think we're going to see anytime soon see it gone.
Right. Yeah, and definitely not within, by the time the election happens. I think that's a second term issue that he might start to bring about. We'll see.
But if it's gone, then there's certain things. What are you going to replace it with?
Right.
Is it? Are you going to? How loan value and loan rates? What establishes those then? Yeah,
there's a lot of things that have to be figured out for sure. And right now, I don't think we're ready for it. I really don't. But I will say I'm with you. I think our president has a plan, a multifaceted, multi-layered, genius level plan. I mean, there's a reason he surrounds himself with, military generals and, masters.
Jared Kushner.
Yeah. Don't get me started on Jared. That guy, man. I don't think he's a bad guy. I just wish.
I love him.
Do you?
Yeah.
I don't have an issue with the guy. I just, every time I turn around, the media is just pouncing on any little thing that the guy says or does, much like Trump himself.
Right.
But it's just like, okay.
Oh, no, he's smart.
Okay. He is.
Steve Mnuchin, those guys are so smart.
Oh,
seriously.
yeah. Dealing with some of the stuff. Oh, yeah. Well, that's what I mean. He surrounds himself with some of the smartest people on the planet.
Right. And in that true leadership.
Yeah.
That's what leadership is. It's I don't have to be the smartest guy in the room.
Right.
But I know who he is and I know who to listen to.
Yeah.
That's Trump.
Yeah, and that's one thing that I believe the media doesn't give him nearly enough credit for, is he has always been willing to listen to the people that know what's going on. Mm-hmm. And Fauci has even gone on TV and said, when it comes to, medical, he listens to me. I have never once said we shouldn't do this, or it's never happened where I've said we shouldn't do this and he went against me, or we should do this and he went against me. He listens to me when it comes. I don't think that's going to last forever. I think Trump is, like I said, working on on just giving them just enough rope, because as you see, he's already reversing things he said before, Fauci. So, it is what it is. But I actually have to go and get my son. He's
There
off
you
of
go.
work, of course. So
We can keep going on and
oh
on.
yeah. As a matter of fact, I think we, if you're up for it, have you on again and kind of continue
absolutely.
this. So I appreciate everybody, hanging out with us.
We got to get you through the primary.
Yeah. You got to get you through the primary too. Apparently,
No, I'm
right?
done.
Oh, it's
I'm
just
through.
you. It's just you. Okay, so it's only you and her running. There's no second or third tertiary or anything. Okay, so you're good till the general.
Yes, I am.
Right. Okay. All right. Well, we're going to do everything we can to help you out there from here. And
I appreciate that.
Absolutely. Drop before I end the stream. Drop any links that you want to. I put them at the top. Make sure that those are right. As a matter of fact, I can't even scroll up that far. So drop your website. Is all your information on your website?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. On the website, it's got links to all the social media. So how do I do a new comment? Is that what I do?
Yeah. Is it not? Here, I'll put it just in case. It's cargileforcongress.com, right?
Yep.
Okay. I'll just do it again. Everybody go check him out. There we go. Should post to all three. Go check out his site. Perfect. He is a constitutional Republican. He is a Christian filmmaker, actor, he said, director. He's, a veteran. This is the guy, man. This is the guy. Learn about California. Thank you for joining.
Oh, thanks for having me. This has been fun.
It's a good time, right?
Absolutely.
It's a good time.
Absolutely. We'll post all about it everywhere.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I'd actually hang out a lot longer, but like I said, I got to go get my son, and I'm sure you have other stuff to do too. But
that's good.
Oh yeah, we'll talk soon, and be safe, everybody. God bless you, and God bless the USA.
God bless all of you. Yep. Thank you again.
Of course.
If you'd like to support the show, please visit our Patreon at patreon.com/Dion's Daily Dose. This has been Dion's Daily Dose, hosted by Dion Bergeron. Executive producers, Sean Holgram and Michael Beebe. Copyright 2020. Dion's Daily Dose, all rights reserved.